If the BMW i4 is a little bit too small and the iX is a bit too big and a bit weird looking, then I've come to see if there is a Goldilocks option in the BMW range. And I reckon this car might be just right. I'm here for a proper look at the all-new BMW i5 all-electric saloon. But before I dig into the details, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because if you're into electric cars, this is the place to be. So this is the 8th generation of BMW's 5 Series. Can you believe it's been around since 1973, which is kind of around the time that I was born-ish. Anyway, it's going to be offered with petrol, diesel, plug-in hybrid and pure electric powertrains. And of course, this is the only one I'm interested in. It is the pure electric i5. Now, as we walked in here, Manos, our head of video, who is behind the camera, hi Manos, he is a huge BMW fan. We were both saying under our breath, please don't let the grille be weird. Please don't let the grille be weird. And hooray, the grille isn't weird, is it? It's not weird at all. It looks completely in proportion with the rest of the car. And at first glance, you know, I just think this has got a really nice modern look without being too in your face. So as for the car itself, it is taller, it is wider, it is longer, it's got a longer wheelbase. But inside, which I've already been in, it actually doesn't feel too big. It feels really sort of nice and compact and comforting. And what's really interesting, I think, is that there isn't much on the outside that sets this all-electric version apart from the other powertrains. You know, the 5 Series has got such a loyal fan base that BMW didn't want to scare them off. And I actually quite like that about it. It's a 5 Series, just got a different powertrain. And yeah, I really like the way it looks. So the electric 5 gets most of the styling bits we've seen on the i4. A blank-top grille, bespoke aero wheels that come as standard in 19s, but will go all the way up to 21s if you want to spend the money, along with blue highlights that mark it out as pure electric. Those fabulous LED headlights are standard, by the way. Sadly, what BMW calls the iconic glow lighting for the grille isn't. I absolutely love it, but annoyingly, the standard M Sport model that we'll get in the UK doesn't get it. If you really want it, you're going to have to upgrade to the M Sport Pro, and they won't actually look quite like this. Instead, you'll get a black grille with the light. Still looks fabulous, though. Other news that I've picked up today, which is very exciting, is that an i5 Touring has been confirmed for production from spring of next year, which will add even more practicality to this car, particularly for any electrifiers like me who have 4-footed friends to carry around. Underneath, it makes sense that the i5 largely mirrors the really rather excellent powertrains of the i4. So we'll get a choice of rear or all-wheel drive with around 335 brake horsepower from the cheapest version, which is a rear-wheel drive i5 eDrive at 40 that gets to 62 in just over 6 seconds. If you have the cash, there's a 600 brake horsepower twin motor, all-wheel drive M60 xDrive, 0 to 62 in just 3.8 seconds for that one, which is, yeah, speedy. We've always been really impressed with the way that electric BMWs drive, and I don't expect the i5 to be lacking at all. In fact, I've been chatting to a couple of BMW folk who, of course, have driven this car a lot. And they've told me that they reckon it actually surpasses the i4 in terms of handling. We all think that the i4 is the best handling electric saloon on the market at the moment, so that bodes really well for this, as does the fact that the i5 gets standard rear air suspension and optional rear wheel steering for extra agility. So away from the fun driving stuff, you get loads of practical ability. So slung underneath here is an 80.7 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is pretty generous. And that translates to around 360 miles of official range. That's a very useful amount, isn't it? And actually, we have found electric BMWs, in particular the i4 actually, to be very, very efficient. So I would expect high 200s, probably into the early 300s in real-world driving conditions, but we will have to wait and see. In terms of charging, that's 11 kilowatt AC for home, with an option of 22 kilowatts as well. Public charging tops out at 205 kilowatt DC. Now that gives you 10 to 80% in just over 25 minutes, which is pretty impressive. And what does that mean in terms of actual driving range? Well, you'll add around 190 miles of range in well under half an hour. And that's probably good for another 3 hours driving. And it's that kind of speed of charging that I think really makes electric cars on longer journeys work. Oh, another thing is it's got plug and charge on a range of charging stations. So on those that are compatible, you'll just be able to plug in, the bill will automatically get sent to your account. It's very smart. And of course, it's available on cars like VW ID Buzz, the Mustang Mach-E, and Tesla drivers will be very familiar with the concept of plug and charge. Well, in here, you will recognise a lot from BMWs like the i4 and the iX, and of course, the main one that I recognise really is the i7. You know, as you'd expect, technology from that car is starting to filter down in other models, and there's quite a lot of it in here. Not least the crystal dials here for the iDrive controllers. And another thing is the BMW interaction bar that stretches all the way around the dash and into the doors. And I absolutely love the fact that BMW have created an electrifying mode. It's in our colours. They've called it something different though, which is a bit weird, expressive. I'm sure that should say electrifying. Anyway, we like that a lot. So let me just start to talk you through some of the technology. So, you know, we always talk about these big touch screens being a bit of a pain to use when you're on the go. Well, BMW has thought about that. There are some shortcuts here that take you directly to certain parts of the technology as you're driving. So this one puts you straight into driver settings. There's one here just handily in the door. So you're driving along and that takes you straight into all the seat controls. I really like that a lot. And then while we're here, let's have a talk about this whole curved screen in front of me, which is just nicely angled towards the driver. It's actually made up of two screens, a 12.3-inch screen here on the left-hand side, which is a lot more driver focused. And then over here on the right-hand side, you get a 14.9-inch touchscreen, and they're just sort of wrapped together. Now, as we start to look at it, the big differences are, well, straight away, it's actually reacts much quicker. So, oh look, there's game mode. I'll come back to that in a minute. Yeah, as you're navigating it, it's just quicker to move from one function to another. What BMW have done this time is put all the main functions that you use a lot just down there at the bottom, which makes them easier to find. And you can also personalise it, so you can have various widgets here on the side that you can set to things that you use a lot. So let's go into this button down here, which is My Modes. And of course, this brings you to all these different modes that I've just mentioned. Expressive, which we are now going to call electrifying mode. That's what's active at the moment. And you have loads of different ones: efficient, sport, personal. You can opt for different digital art in there as well. But if I go into efficient, there's something quite clever in here that I want to show you. So efficient mode is obviously maximises the battery so you get the most range out of it. But new to the i5 is, where's it gone? There it is. That, activate maximum range. And if you press that while you're driving, you get up to 25% extra range. So I was asking the folk at BMW how they did that, and there isn't a quick and easy answer. It's just through lots of different things. Reduces some of the comfort functions, just kind of slows down the acceleration, you get a bit more brake regen. And all of that adds together for a really good saving. And I think that's such a smart feature. Oh, another thing to mention is that this isn't leather. No, it's not. Might look like leather, but it isn't. It's vegan leather, and it's called Veganza. Not so sure about the name Veganza, personally, but you know, feels like leather. What isn't leather, interestingly, is the steering wheel. Certainly not in the UK. There is an option, but we're not going to get it. And that's because on the M pack, and we're only going to get M cars in the UK because we like those a lot, you do get a leather steering wheel. So yeah, if you want your vegan interior, I don't know, you're just going to have to put up with that as well, because that's not Veganza. That's Veganza. Gosh, there's so much to tell you about this interior. This could be a really long piece, couldn't it? Good storage in there, wireless charging for 2 phones. Oh, this is something I really like. So here are just really lovely, very little tactile dials that turn the air vents on and off. And I wish you could reach your hand in and just try them, because They're just lovely. So it just feels so expensive and so classy. Anyway, I will stop now, otherwise this is going to be a very long video. So for the full overview of everything about this car, including all the info on the interior, do head over to our review over at electrifying.com. And there are tricks up the i5 sleeve, the most impressive of which is probably next generation Autobarn Assist. It's a system that can steer, stop and cruise on its own and is apparently very, very good. But this is the interesting bit, it can also track your eye movements. And when you want to overtake, you just give a very determined look in the mirror and it will do it automatically. Overtaking with your eyes. But not in the UK yet, sadly. Germany, Canada and the US, I envy you. I know I said I'd finish with the interior, but I haven't. There's some bits I've forgotten and I really want to show you. Let me just scan this QR code. Has that worked? There it is. Let me just do it. There it is. There it is. There it is. So basically, you know, we're always charging, or not always charging, but when you are charging an electric car, you're often stuck for things to do. It's got some really good games loaded on here, which I absolutely love. This one, this Tower of Babel game, I was playing this earlier. Spent far too long sitting in here, it's addictive. But it's just a really nice touch, and I think something that perhaps elevates this beyond it being a business car. Because we know loads of people who are business users will buy this, but it's actually things like this that make it a great family car too. Another thing that makes it a great family car, and I will stop in the interior in a minute, I promise, for no reason other than it's fun. Ta-da! Selfie mode. It's amazing, look. So we can set a timer, set that, little camera up here. Honestly, there is no point for that, is there? But then you know what? There's no point for a screen that becomes a fire in a Tesla or whoopee cushions. It's just a really nice thing to have, something fun, as I said, something that the family will like. And it actually makes me like BMWs even more because they are putting these little kind of treats in. I like selfies, what can I say? And while I was doing a little digging, I did realise that the platform that the i5 is based on could, in theory, house 3 electric motors. 2 for the back, 1 for the front, which means you could have, in theory, I don't know, say a BMW i5M with around 800 brake horsepower, which is probably just me fantasising. Or is it? Ooh, I'm quite surprised by how much I like this. And given that BMW has already produced some really compelling electric cars, I don't imagine this is going to be any different when we drive it. Yeah, it might be slightly more conservative than some electric saloons out there. Hyundai Ioniq 6, I'm looking at you there. But you know, we know that this is going to perform and I cannot wait to drive it. But, and here's the but, it's going to be in the mid £70,000 for the iDrive 40 and just under £97,000 for the M60. Well, it's going to have to at those prices, isn't it? But we will wait until we drive it to deliver on that and to make sure you know when we get behind the wheel of it. And also because we've just got loads of other great news about electric cars coming. Do make sure you subscribe to the channel and switch your notifications on.